Coming up next on AVID Achievers, I'll be talking with a student from Glen Burnie High School. Hello, I'm Jennifer, the host of AVID Achievers, and today in the studio I have Brayden, who's a senior at Glen Burnie High School. Brayden, how's your school year going?
It's going well. I think it's an exciting year. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's a busy year to be on the board, but it's definitely an exciting senior year. You know, one more year, so try to make the most out of it and learn as much as I can.
Nice. And you joined AVID at Glen Burnie kind of late in your educational career. What interested you in joining?
So, neither of my parents went directly to college, and so, that college experience and, navigating the wonders of admissions, I know would be a difficult journey, even when I got recruited to AVID my sophomore year. And so, besides from the free application fees or the benefits of AVID, it was really just, recognizing that it's an opportunity to learn more about the college process and to, strengthen my involvement in the school and, strengthen my service throughout the school and community and try to continue the path I was on for service and leadership.
So you mentioned that you got recruited. It's not something that you went to anybody to ask for. So what do you think they saw in you where they were like, hey, we want Brayden to be part of AVID?
So I don't know. I don't know. I was a sophomore. So Governor Wes Moore came to our school, and I wasn't cool enough yet to be at the round table, but it was a little small panel, which in my opinion was cooler because I was there and AVID was there. And so nonetheless, I was talking about my involvement, talking about what I do for the school, and our site coordinator, Miss Jordan Pickett, saw me and she was like, "Why aren't you in AVID?" And I was like, "Miss Pickett, what is AVID? Like, talk to me about it." And, not only her, but other students, fellow AVID students, graduating seniors of that year, talked to me about it and, explained to me what it was and how I would be, great for it. And so Miss Pickett probably better answer on what she saw in me directly, but I know that because of her passion and because of what, she told me, I know what I saw in AVID.
Okay. What do you think has been most impactful to you since joining the AVID elective?
There's a lot, it's definitely, number one, the first thing that comes to mind is just the amount that you learn about the college process, the amount that, support there is. But, second, and, what I'm able to use on a daily basis is just that connection to, various students, because many times students join AVID because they may not have, all the resources in the world for college or for, preparation in school. And so, being able to connect with those students, being able to learn from those students, and being able to represent those students every day is just so important to me. And, not only at my school level, but at other schools, there are just so many great students and educators that have a passion for equity and a passion for service. And being able to, work with everyone and learn from everyone and sort of what feels like a family almost is just, is just a great feeling. It's great to expand and get AVID, into other parts of learning and opportunities.
So I understand you have a very busy life as a senior in high school, and I know it's very beneficial to have a healthy balance with, your academics, with your commitments, and with your just hobbies and interests, So what is your time management strategy?
Yeah, when I talk about transparency so much, and I think that's really the answer and the way to go about answering that, because as you may expect, I get asked that all the time. And so being transparent about it, coming into my town halls, into my council meetings and just saying, hey guys, sorry, I'm a little later, sorry, I haven't been able to get to this yet, and just making sure that I have, positive support systems is another great thing. And so being transparent and, having positive support systems, for example, through AVID, our AVID site coordinator, Ms. Jordan Pickett, and my AVID counselor, Ms. Shannon Heller, are just some of the most influential and supportive people that I have, inside and out of school. And it's just great. I was actually on Wednesday talking to both of them, and they're both just, they're tough on me because they know I can do it, and they believe in me, and so that's just great to have that support. And so being, transparent to them, being transparent to everyone, and, it is tough. There's no hiding that it's tough, and I'm never the one to act like, something is easy when it's not. And so making sure I'm asking questions, making sure I'm, taking my time with things, because it is a lot, and I recognize that. But, it doesn't feel like as much when I have amazing support systems through my AVID counselor and AVID psych coordinator.
That's wonderful. So let's break it down a little bit. So in regard to academics, what courses are you taking this year?
So this year I have 4. Of course, AVID, AP Bio, AP Lit, and AP Statistics are my 4 classes that I have, and I have 2 on each day.
Okay, and have you benefited from AVID tutorials, or do you help others during AVID tutorials?
Yeah, so, I didn't obviously know what a tutorial was until my junior year, and so everyone was like, already going about it, and they knew where to go, they knew what to talk about, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And so when I really learned what it was, I remember there was a specific class where I can't remember what class it was, maybe it was, I think it was a pre-calculus test coming up, and I really didn't understand something, and then in an AVID tutorial, someone went on the board and they weren't even talking about my problem directly, but the way they explained it, I was like, wait, that makes sense to me. And so I always talk about that peer-to-peer connection, and the AVID tutorials were one of those things that I saw and really felt that peer-to-peer tutoring connection root from. And I think it's just so great because it's just a time where there's no teachers involved, it's just the students, and that's just a great opportunity for leadership and that classroom experience and that SEL learning we talk about in the classroom. And so AVID tutorials, I know they benefited me, and I'm sure they benefit so many students from across the county.
That's awesome, and I think that skill through what you do during the tutorials is a great life skill, and that people can take it into college or the workforce as well. So what kind of commitments are you involved with, other than your classes
at
school?
Of course. So right now, I serve as our 52nd student member of the Board of Education. I'm the 4th in Glen Burnie High School history to do so, and that is a lot of time, usually around 20 to 30 hours a week, and so it's a very busy one, but it's been a very exciting role, and it's really, the heart of what I do. Outside of that, I made sure that every other commitment I had before, I didn't just abandon it, and so with that, I'm a 4-year varsity soccer player for Glen Burnie High School. We play in the regional final on Tuesday, so the season is still going on strong. I'm the president for our Interact Club. I had that last year, and I didn't want to give that up.
What's Interact Club?
Sorry, Interact Club is our service club at Glen Burnie High School.
Okay.
And so, additionally, I'm on the Service Learning Leadership team, and I am invited to things like SEAT, into things like SAAC, all these amazing countywide programs we have. And so, but the big 3 right now are going to be the student member of the board, soccer, and of course the busyness of college applications we have right now. So it's a very busy schedule, and like I said, those support systems really help me manage it.
Wow, it sounds really busy. What intrigued you about being a board member and being so involved with service learning?
So, and really, so I came up through the lowest level of classes. I write on my college applications that my most proud piece is my 3.46 weighted GPA, because it shows me where I started. It shows me that journey of coming through the lowest level of co-taught classes and working my way up to the AP classes, because, I found my passion through service. The way I found that passion was through a scheduling mistake, though.
Okay.
And I was accidentally placed in Nutrition B, never took Nutrition A in the second half of my freshman year, and so I went to my counselor, who, full circle, was Miss Shannon Heller at the time, before I was even in AVID.
Okay.
And I was placed in Public Service Exploration 1, and really found my passion for service, and learned that, I've been serving like my whole life, and not even realizing it. And then when I got more involved in school, I started trying more, and, but then towards my end of my sophomore year and my junior year, I realized, hey, I found my passion through a scheduling mistake. No student should ever have to find their passion through a scheduling mistake. So imagine how many students weren't fortunate to have that scheduling mistake. Mm-hmm. And I noticed it in my school, where students weren't aware of service opportunities. And then I learned that this isn't a problem in my school, this is a problem everywhere. And I, learned about the board position, and, we had finalists from Glen Burnie for the past few years, and so I already heard about it a little bit, and I did my research, and I said, why not? Why not try? Why not be the voice for those students who, might be in co-taught classes, might be in AP classes? Because I have experience in every level of class we have. I have experience throughout various different, programs at the county level. And so that with that diverse background, I, applied, ran, and was elected as the 4th in my school's history. And so it was really just recognizing that there are students who learn at all different levels, and those students deserve to be represented and deserve to have access to opportunities. That's the biggest thing I ran for, and that's the biggest thing that I continue to do on the board.
Well, congratulations on that achievement.
Thank you.
So AVID really stresses service learning, and you mentioned that you've always basically had a passion for it, but not a lot of AVID students really think about service learning. Why do you think it's so important for students to become involved with it?
100%. And connecting back to Glen Burnie for a second, that is one thing that our site coordinator and I have worked so actively on. I personally went into multiple of our AVID classrooms, and I speak about service learning, my involvement, how to sign up for the portal, these different things to do. And especially as, we switched the class rank system, and the valedictorian and salutatorian are, based on that service learning, which I think is very important. I talk about service learning all the time. It's how I got my start. And, what I always tell everyone is there's service for everybody. Anything can be turned to public service because you can always teach, and teaching is a public service. And for me, it's always been that connection to other people. But at the end of the day, service learning is important because service means something different for all of us. And so service is important to each individual person differently, but it's a way to express yourself, it's a way to learn while helping others. And I think that is the most important piece when you're not only learning, but you're teaching as well, and you're helping others. And so service learning has always been the backbone of, what I do, and I have been, honored and, so grateful to be able to bring it back to AVID across, my school and other schools as well.
That does sound really important. So you're involved, is there like a county-wide service learning team?
That is a great question, and it's called the Service Learning Leadership Team. With our head is Miss Lori Fowler at Central Office, and she is absolutely amazing and a best friend of AVID. So yeah, it's comprised of select leaders from different schools. I served on my junior year, and that's actually really how I got my start into thinking about running for the board. And I even remember, it's silly not to think about, but when I used to hear about opportunities up in the service line leadership meetings, I used to write it down like on a piece of paper what they were, and I would go to our AVID teachers in our school, and I say, hey, can you hang this up and help kids get out there? And so many students love to serve, and so many students now in AVID even continue to serve at these opportunities that I brought them. And so, I love the Service and Leadership Team. We have some amazing AVID leaders and student leaders from across the county, and it is truly just an amazing group of students who do amazing things, and I'm inspired every day to be a part of that group.
What has been one of your favorite service learning projects?
There's a lot. I would say one that is one of the most fun ones we had was last year's. We're planning this year, so I think we might be announcing a name soon for ours, but last year we did Spreading Smiles. And with the Service Learning Leadership Team, we had a goal of establishing 100, then we said, no, let's do 200. Let's be ambitious, like 200 dental kits throughout the county for people who need, better access to dental hygiene. And so one of my favorite pieces is not only do we have, dental supplies that we gathered from across the county and got our AVID programs involved, our signature programs involved, our interact clubs, our key clubs, our service clubs involved. We also had informational stuff, and so people can continue to learn about their dental and take care of themselves. And so we didn't quite reach our goal as 200. We actually got 1,311 dental kits provided throughout the entire county with supplies left over. And so it really showed me and really taught that when students come together for the right reasons with passion, anything can happen. And especially when we went across the county and gathered supplies, it really showed what we can do together as schools and come together for a greater cause. And so that's one of my favorite ones that I think about all the time is our Spreading Smiles winter impact project on the SSL team last year.
Now, how were those kits dispersed?
So we went to 3 nonprofits from around the county. I know one of my local ones, Be Kind, was one of the locations we did. And we had a big event there where a bunch of students from the team came together to pass them out. And so we went to, I think it was 3 or 4, but I think it was 3, nonprofits and the banks from around the county, different parts. We had one northern, one eastern, and one southern to, make sure it was, an equitable and, even distribution, but it made a really huge impact, and I'm so proud of that event.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people got great use out of it and appreciated it. Brayden, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate the time that you took out of your very busy schedule to be here. And I wish you the best of luck throughout the rest of high school.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of AVID Achievers. And remember, don't be afraid to take advantage of your opportunities because you never know where they may lead.